people go into those situations now, especially with YouTube and it getting so much bigger.
Absolutely.
Something to see in the car. I just thought about that. And like so many people doing public interviews and things like that. Now even I've seen YouTubers that are doing the reverse public interviews. There's a lot of different things that are going on in that world currently, but I think that you'll start to see more concepts like that going on, and especially like as time progresses. I remember like the butterfly effect and stuff like that. There were similar, older movies and stuff, but it'll definitely there's definitely going to be a lot of changes to the movie industry. Video games are going towards VR now. Yeah, because I don't like most people. Don't know my story because I haven't told my whole story because, again, being a teacher, there's only so much you can say.
Absolutely.
Moral of the story, I used to make a lot of money. And I was breeding dogs, I was working, and then I had my other side hustles.
Okay.
And, with the dogs being one of them, I was making crazy money off of the dogs. I ended up basically, I bought a dog from overseas. When I bought the dog from overseas, it raised huge red flags because I got the dog from Ukraine.
Oh.
Basically, they froze a bunch of my bank accounts and started investigating as to where the money was coming from.
Oh.
And yeah, at 17, buying a dog from Ukraine, if you can't justify where the money's coming from, it's not a very good...
Age 17? Wait a minute. Back it up a little bit. Did you just come out knowing how to do things? Seriously.
No, I started the dog business at 12, so by 17, I had some good connections.
How did you start learning how to hustle at the age of 12?
It's been a good hustler, and that was the thing, is I basically, I've always, literally, I remember when I was in elementary school, I used to sell Smarties. I would buy the big ones. This was when, the whole smoking Smarties thing was crazy. I'd buy the big ones, I'd crush them up, and I put them in little baggies like drugs and sell them to the kids at school.
That's so innocent. That is too cute. I love it.
So, I'm selling these to these kids at school, and I'll never forget, because one of my friends, this is what stopped me from doing it. I sold a bag to one of my friends. And the school that I went to, I was one of the very few African-American kids there. So, we have, lines that we draw with the stupid stuff we do.
Okay.
My Caucasian friends don't.
Yeah.
So I sold it to him, and then he goes, "Hey Nigel, everybody smokes Smarties. You ever tried snorting them?" No, have not. Haven't even thought about putting anything up my nose in my life.
Oh my goodness.
So he goes, "I'm going to try it and see what happens." He snorts a line of Smarties. And literally, quick sugar rush to the head.
Oh my goodness.
His head went up, his eyes opened up and everything. It looked just like when someone does a line of coke.
Oh my god.
And then, boom, his head hits the table and bounces off of it.
Oh my goodness.
He's knocked out. There's a line of dust on the table. And they run over there and they're like, "Do you know what happened to him?" And I'm like, "No." And they're they grabbed the Smarties. They're like, "Whoever sold him this is going to jail." Because I guess they thought it was real drugs. Completely traumatized.
You didn't get in too much trouble, did you?
No, I didn't get caught because it wasn't drugs. So
right.
It even got it was just you chose to do something stupid.
Yeah.
So then I started selling other candies that people couldn't snort, like Starburst.
There you go. Smart. Smart. Very smart. You one-up them. You one-up the system. Very smart. Yeah. Especially when there's not that much melanin around you.
Yeah.
That's cool. Wow, I didn't expect that story. I am very, yeah. Oh my God. I'm Corvelling. Yeah, you're a hustler at heart. Like, okay, so when it comes to like the credit cards, what got you into that kind of stuff? Your parents teach you how to manage things right, or?
No, I did not want to. I drove around the same car for years, so I bought a little car cash when I drove it. Then I didn't want to spend the money on purchasing a car because I just got out of the situation with the dog. So I was like, literally, like my conversation with God was like, God, if you get me out of this, I won't do anything stupid again.
Okay. Okay. There you
so
go.
I realized that purchasing the car cash would have been dumb. So I went ahead and I financed the car. Because like I said, I did have a job and I had a decent credit score.
Okay.
Well, what ended up happening was somebody hit me in that car. The car was supposed to be totaled, and they wouldn't total it out. So since they wouldn't total it out, I had to take all the negative equity and roll it into another car a year later.
Wow.
And I went through just a really bad situation with the insurance, with the car, with like everything. So since I got so screwed on that first car deal, and that was the thing, the first car that they had me in, they gave me an interest rate of 14%. Now, I had a 750 credit score at that time.
Okay.
So I walked out the dealership. I was fairly new to credit, so they ran through all these inquiries on my credit. So you're talking about my score went from the 700 to the 500.
How many inquiries did they do?
Like 20.
Oh, and that definitely lowers it more the more they do that. Wow.
So they killed my score, so I couldn't go anywhere else to refinance the car.
Mm-hmm.
And then I end up, like I said, in this accident right before I was going to be able to refinance the car. And then the whole thing was the car was supposed to be totaled. What they did was they redid the damage adjustment.
Okay.
Bought it 500 under totaling it. They took my car for a month, and Toyota basically just rebuilt my car completely. But they put aftermarket parts in it.
Okay.
So it drove the value down in the car because none of the parts were genuine Toyota parts.
Okay.
So I got completely screwed. And then at that point, that's one thing about me, like, whenever I get screwed, I want to do one of two things, and I figured that one of them wouldn't have landed me in a good situation. So let me just go and learn how to beat the situation.
Okay, yeah. And the insurance company you were with, we already know that it's a lot of fraudery in insurance, but what did they do or what did they not do?
They're the ones who changed the damage adjustments. Yeah, it brought the car down from being totaled. I had gap insurance, so it wasn't like I wasn't going to be able to pay for the car.
Okay.
You know? So that was my thing. I was like, just total the car out, my insurance will cover it, and I'll go into the lot and get a new car.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure there was some type of kickback from Toyota to keep me into that deal so that they could make more money.
Wow.
And, you know.
From there, you said enough is enough. I'm going to do this on my own. What is your sign?
Scorpio.
Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, all right, that makes sense. Because you're like, look, I'm either going to go one or two ways, and I know Scorpios, so it's good that you went the good route. Oh my God. I'm glad that you went the good route. So that overall thing is what brought you to wanting to learn more about taking control of your life and your finances, and pretty much investing in self and being able to lead a kind of, free life without having to have these shackles on you that we're so used to thinking we're supposed to have on us, because, most of the times we don't get taught the right way. But I do like to say I appreciate that you're coming on YouTube and you're showing a lot of younger people exactly what it is and how they can do it. I do appreciate that, because they put a lot of brothers in all the other sceneries, but they don't put brothers in suits. And there's a lot of millionaires out there, and I'm recent on Clubhouse. I haven't really dabbled into Clubhouse a lot, but I've heard a lot of different stories, and it's a lot of different millionaires, indigenous millionaires. I salute you for that, especially being a teacher, so you can just say this to your students even if you're not really, well, you said you do math, so you can kind of put credit into math if you wanted to. like if you wanted to tell them that way, right?
For our district, they're very limited on what you can and can't do, and I've been trying to get it passed for them to bring finances to our district.
Wow.
The next county up, they have finances, but Dave Ramsey's the one in charge of it.
Okay.
So it's not like it can't be done. It's just we choose not to.
Okay.
Now, as far as like bringing stuff in, I do, because what I do is I teach sidebars.
Okay.
So even if I'm teaching what they want me to teach,
yes.
if I get a couple extra minutes, I go in and tell my kids what they need to really know.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Just,
good stuff. Absolutely.
Reality. But
absolutely.
when it comes down like to YouTube and stuff like that, and like you said, we're teaching our kids different things. Because I have parents who come to me and they're like, "Oh, well, my kid says he wants to be a YouTuber and blah blah blah," and he thinks that's a real job. I'm like, well, I can argue with you on your side for one thing. And they're like, what? I'm like, it's not a job. And then they're like, yeah, it's not. And I'm like, yeah, but it is a business.
Right. You're investing in yourself, and if it takes off and do great, a job is what? Just over broke? So we don't want that anyway. I mean, that's like into the system.
Yeah, I was trying to explain to like this lady, I'm like, okay, your kid wants to be a YouTuber, and you've been holding him back from doing it. Now, your kid, you're stunning his growth every day that you're holding him back, because YouTube grows exponentially.
Absolutely.
Now, for myself, I stunted my growth for a long time because I wouldn't get out there and just make a video.
Okay.
So then, when I started, like my first month monetized, I did $500, and
great.
That was crazy. A lot of people, like when you watch YouTubers and they're like talking about how much money they make.
Yeah.
They don't, like, most YouTubers that you see that are big YouTubers now, they didn't make $500 the first month. They made like $10.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how?
All in this house, we used to always watch this one gamer, Corey Kenshin, but he's kind of like slowing down. And I was like, oh, we need another gamer. And my son started doing these games, and he's on like his 3rd episode on God of War, and it's really good. So I was like, hey, I'm down for it. I'm down for my youth wanting to do things like this. Because I'm like, hey, we're all in this house trying to invest and learn how to make money in different ways rather than from, these made systems that's not really for us.
Good one that I like is Modern War Negro. Yeah, he's good. Yeah.
I wonder if my son knows him. He probably do.
Yeah, he's hilarious. My brother put me on to watch his channel. And he actually talks about real stuff while he games. And that's what I like about his channel, because like he talks about like going to an HBCU and respect. Your classmates and being in dorms and all this type of stuff. It was like I just liked it because he was like so real and authentic.
Absolutely.
He cracked me up because he's talking about his exam day at the HBCU. And he goes, you go to an HBCU when you walk into your final exam and somebody shouts out, hey, you got a pencil?
Absolutely. Yeah, but I'm like, let's just do one thing at a time, because I've been working on my credit for the last year. That whole run on wanting to learn how to invest himself more and take care of the credit, because I do believe that should be done first, because I think that opens a lot of doors.
Oh, yeah, it does. And, the thing is, I've actually, talked to people who are, hard money or cash millionaires, as they call it, and then people who are cash flow or credit millionaires.
Okay.
And even when you talk to cash flow, like when you talk to cash flow millionaires, they typically, like, there's very few cash flow millionaires who live in the concept of, oh, you only ever use credit. But the thing about it with cash flow millionaires is a lot of them are going to tell you to over leverage yourself and never pay anything off.
Okay.
And in the case of an economic reset, which is what we're going through now.
Absolutely.
You want your stuff paid off in the case that the bank tries to pull a loan or anything like that. You can always say, okay, well, I have the ability to pay this stuff off. At least you have that money sitting there. But, I was just talking to my mom about it. And I was telling her, I'm like, what I like to do is I like to take my credit and, for instance, the things that I buy off of my credit, or I'll buy something that I can flip. Other than that, like, I don't like to just go and say, oh, well, I have $25,000 on this credit card. I want to go buy some shades or buy some I only buy stuff that's going to make money back.
Absolutely. Smart. That's the smartest thing. Flip it. Absolutely.
Yeah, so, and that's kind of how I look at it. And that's why I said, too, it's going to be a very big difference once I finally come all the way out of the classroom. The only reason I haven't yet is because I'm trying to buy a house, and it's easier to buy a house when you're W-2 versus 1099.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, I understand that. They put more on you when you have your own, right? You don't want the students or anyone to know about you and your dog breeding.
I talk about everything.
Just making sure. Okay.
The only thing that I don't talk about are things that are legal.
Absolutely.
And honestly, if I'm in the classroom and I know that there's not a microphone, like something like I had my kids, they asked me one time, they're like, "Have you ever smoked weed?" And I was like, "No." And they're like, "Are you telling us that because you're a teacher?" I hadn't. I was like, "No, I'm telling you that because it's honesty." I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, because the kids, they were like, "Oh, well, are you gonna think that we're bad people?" So yeah, I'm like, that's their business. And then like now you can smoke medicinally, but see, teachers, we can't even smoke medicinally.
Oh wow, that sucks.
I personally don't care because how I look at it, I'm a gun person.
Okay.
So for me, it's either you can have weed or you can have guns because I'm in Florida and those are the laws here.
Absolutely.
So I'll take my guns all day, every day. Originally from Broward, actually.
Okay, and I've always wanted to go to. I forget where it's at now. It's been so long. But me and my youth are big fans of XXX Tentacion. And I was like, I want to go there and go to his gravesite and see him. So we planned on going to Florida several times. It just haven't happened yet. I haven't been to Florida ever since 2017.
Yeah, that's Deerfield. That's Broward County. That's right by Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, Deerfield. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I have a lot of family in the music industry. So, like, actually, one of my cousins knew him because everybody knows Melly. But,
that's what's up.
Jay Green is my cousin.
Okay.
His old co-artist. And then,
okay.
And then my other cousin is One Way Frank. So he actually came out with Kodak Black.
Okay.
So, like, Florida is all of too, like, thugged out. Everybody wants to be gangster for forever.
Right. Just a little bit. What music you listen to?
Yeah, see, I'm very diverse in my music. And like I said, like, to begin, obviously, I listen to those three. Like, I listen to One Way Frank, I listen to Jalen, I listen to my other cousin Dorian. His rap name is like 14.
Okay.
So I listen to their music, but then like outside of that, I listen to all different genres, but like mainly like G Herbo, Lil Bibby, as far as Chicago, like what's his name, Polo G, and then like outside of that, like I listen to all types of music, pop music, country music, like. I'm weird about that. It depends on like what type of like mood I'm in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then like Roddy Ricch and Nipsey Hussle, like I like them.
Absolutely.
And then on the other hand, like I listen to 30 Deep Grimy, and people are like, "How?"
No judgment. I listen to it all too. Can go hardcore.
Like the only thing that I can't really listen to is like screamo rock.
If my children here right now and they were listening to you, like let's just say, what are some beginner steps on taking your finances into your own hand before you get released out into the world?
I would say like the first step I think for anyone is actually determining what they want to do in life and setting goals. Because when you set goals, you may postpone a goal, but you never are going to like throw your goals out if they're what you truthfully want.
Absolutely.
And I think that the first thing really is setting your goals. Set realistic and quote-unquote unrealistic goals is what I like to call them. Because your realistic goal is tomorrow I'm going to make $50 because people can see that.
Yes.
But your unrealistic goal is in a year I'm going to buy a mansion, and they're like, I can't see that.
Yes. Yeah.
So set those goals and then determine what you need to accomplish to get there to reach those goals. And then to educate yourself as much as possible on what you want to become as well as all the steps in between. Now, how I recommend doing that, I recommend people piecing it out into, like I said, what I call your realistic and your unrealistic goals. Your realistic goals, you're going to set a chart to do your realistic goals within 3 years. And your unrealistic goals, you're going to set to do within 10 years. And you have to basically eat off piece by piece how you're going to accomplish those realistic goals so you can reach the unrealistic goals.
Absolutely.
Because even like with becoming a doctor, for the majority of people, you can get your bachelor's degree in 4 years. This will be slightly over 3. And that's considered realistic for a lot of people. But actually finishing out med school for a lot of people is unrealistic.
Yeah.
Or at least they feel that. So I tell them to set out on finding your goals first and what you want to do. And then don't let anyone stop you from accomplishing your goals.
Absolutely.
Push for those goals no matter what, and stand and also develop your morals and your principles and stick to those.
Absolutely.
Because that's one thing that I've noticed and where a lot of people go wrong is, especially in the entertainment industry, you get to a certain point and then someone comes to you and they say, hey, if you sell us your soul, we're going to give you a large lump sum of money. And for one, if they're offering you that much, you're really worth 3 times that much.
Absolutely.
So that's just more inspiration for you to push further. Because I'd rather say I turned down $1 million deal from Interscope and be able to show that paperwork than to say I signed this $1 million deal and signed away all my morals and principles. So that's what I kind of sit by is, you have to set out on those goals and then just continue to educate yourself every single day. And that's what I've found is like in the past, and to network, and a lot of people, they get upset with me because I say, like, if you want to reach the next level, you have to network. They're like, well, I don't need other people. And I'm like, you've convinced yourself you don't need other people. And you believe that until you end up in a situation where you need someone, and now you're scrambling to find someone you can't trust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. True. True.
Because trust me, I was just in a situation a couple weeks ago. If you haven't changed anyone else's life, then you're going to crash at some point. Because there's other people don't care that you're rich.
True.
They really don't. People will tell you they care about you, and they don't. Yeah. They only care about what you're going to do for them. And if you're not doing anything for them, then they could care less. If you crash, they're just going to say, ha, I told you so.
Yeah, true. That's true. You're right. And the jealous part that you mentioned as well, there's a lot of that comes when people are doing things like you and being very strong and investing in self. There's always jealousy.
I think jealousy is probably like spiritually like the worst emotion of like all of them. I think
it
like
can kill.
Envy. I think envy is the worst of any emotion.
Absolutely, I agree.
Envy and fear, and I think the thing is that so many people have unconscious fear. And unconscious fear, people don't understand. That's what really kills. Because if you have this unconscious fear of you've never stepped into this realm, like people who are scared to step into business, you've never sold anything. You've never been in business.
Yeah.
And you don't know how to sell, so you have this fear of selling, but you have a hidden talent that you could have sold for $1 billion. But you were so scared that you never did, so you always live poor.
Absolutely.
And it's the same thing with going back into the streets. I always used to tell people, when you see on the news, oh, such and such got killed, blah, blah, that person wasn't killed by a gangster. They were killed by somebody who was scared. They were killed by someone who was in fear of their life, so they did what they felt like they had to do unconsciously 9 times out of 10. When you see an actual oh, we've been trying to hunt this person down for 20 years, they might have been killed by a gangster.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
But, oh, such and such, blah, 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 they had a bad transaction, shots were fired. That wasn't a gangster. That was somebody who was scared. That was fear. Or, oh, such and such at the red light, they stopped, they got shot, because that happens all the time down here. That was envy. They saw your car.
Absolutely.
They saw your chain. They wanted it. They want to be you.
Absolutely.
You know, I've been shot at before. I've had all types of crazy situations, but, you know, I don't feel like nobody's out to just get me.
Yeah.
There's people that I know, like, if I was to run into them,
yeah,
it would be a great resolve. But that's why I moved.
Yeah.
The thing too about being down south is like when I tell everybody, even if you just move to a different hood, move out of the one you grew up in. Move out of the one you grew up in, because the one you grew up in is where everybody knows you and will kill you. And that's the sad part about it. That's the sad part about life.
I know this happens to a lot of people where you try and you try and you try. You want to do shit right and you want to do something. You see the vision. Yeah, that's the one thing. No one else is going to see your vision. So the thing is, people always try to talk you out of it. That's why I learned to move in silence. Like, people won't know what's going on until I show it, like, after I do it.
Exactly. And that's why I like my shirts. I'm not sure if you ever saw my original merch, but it was all Live Red.
No, I didn't see no shirts.
Yeah, my original merch that I have down in the bio, the Live Red stuff.
Oh, okay. I'm going to have to check it out.
My friend Lil Red got shot. Or not got shot, but got killed. And that was his, because I'll get there in a second. But yeah, he got killed, and that was his name, Lil Red, so I made like an acronym out of it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I'll check it out.
Educate yourself. Know the things that are going on around you. And make yourself comfortable in your life. And not caring about what other people are doing or other people say and all that other stuff. Focus on you making your money and making your life better. You know, and another big issue that I have is people that always try to make some type of excuse for themselves.
True.
And say, you know, oh, well, because I was in this situation or because I was in that situation, I couldn't do this or I couldn't do that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, look, dude, I've been homeless before. I've gone through all these other things myself. So by me having been through all these things, I understand. Like, see, now you can say, you have some people who are like, oh, well, you weren't really homeless because I had a car. You know?
Yeah.
But there's levels to the homeless thing.
Right, it's still homeless.
Yeah. I had a friend who was in foster care. And, like, I remember because I was stressing about how I was going to go to college and, like, get the money and everything to go to college.
Yeah.
I'm talking to my friend, and he goes, and he's, like, laughing, and he's in foster care. He's like, well, I don't have to worry about that. Like, I'm like, dude, you're in foster care. Like, who's going to pay for your college?
Wow.
And then he's like, the state? And I'm like, what? Yeah, when you're in foster care in the state of Florida, if you go through the foster care system, then they have grants and they cover your tuition. As long as you keep a GPA over a 3.0.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So he's sitting there and he's like, I ain't worried about going to college because I go to any college in Florida and my tuition's paid for.
Okay. Okay.
You're the one who's worried about going to college.
Right.
You know.
Wow.
And it was just crazy. And I'm like, wow. But what happened was his foster parents actually told him. You know how many kids are foster kids who don't know that, who don't go to college and end up in bad situations in life? You know, so there's so many resources that it's like, okay, they're available, they're out there, but you got to do your research. You got to know. You got to sit down and say, okay, I'm a foster kid. How can I go to college? Google it, figure it out, listen to some other people's stories.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's what I try to get people to understand is it's more in how much you're willing to put into yourself than it is what you're capable of doing.
Absolutely.
Because you're capable of doing way more than you think that you're capable of doing.
Oh, yeah.
But you have to know the right stuff and have the right people around you. Because like I said with that kid, if he didn't have a foster parent who told him that, he would have been more freaked out than me.
Right. Yeah, that's true. This is my first time learning about it. Wow.
You know, there's so many different things that are out there and available that it's like, we got to start making sure that our youth knows these things. And just like we go into college, I tell my students all the time, look, y'all, I'm going to be honest with you. Out of this classroom, and y'all know who you are, most of you are not college material. But there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that, because I want to tell you, there's two things that makes there to be nothing wrong with that. One, college material, as far as I'm saying on an academic level, I know dummies that have PhDs. Why? Because they're persistent. And they failed a class, and they went back and took it and took it and took it until they passed it.
Right.
And so eventually, it's not a matter of being smart anymore. It's, okay, I've taken this class 5 times. I know what the professor's going to say.
Yeah, true, true.
You know, then on the other hand, there's a lot of you that can go out and you can find a trade, you can find a skill, you can find something else to do, and you're going to make more money than your friends who go to college and come out with student debt.
Absolutely. It's that debt that's the problem.
Yeah, so if they want to talk crap to you, that's perfectly fine. Let them talk crap now. Just focus on getting yourself through this level so you can get to the next level.
Absolutely.
And I give it to them flat out, like, look, okay, I can walk around here and look at all your teachers. And, you know, you talk to so many teachers, and they're like, oh, well, I don't want to be an administrator, this or that, blah, blah, blah. You know, I just feel like I'm a great teacher, so I want to stay in the classroom. Mm-hmm. Well, sorry to burst your bubble, you suck. They're like, what? You've had the same job for the past 20 years.
Right,
you haven't really gotten any further than you started out. Now, because times have changed, you don't want to give up the benefits in your contract of not being able to get fired.
Yeah.
So that's why you won't leave and come back. But if you left and came back, you'd actually make more money than you do now, because new teachers make more money than you do with your contract.
True.
Then you burst their bubble, and you're like, you're not financially literate, you're not well versed in your content area, because you're still living in 20 years ago when you started teaching it.
Yeah.
And you're not able to teach it to anyone new or to build the education system any further. So therefore, you suck at what you're doing. Sorry to burst your bubble. And like I tell them all the time, because they always ask me, well, do you want to be an admin or something? No. I have no aspirations to do that, because I want to educate in the private sector. You know, so then when I talk to them about educating in the private sector and being able to be your own boss and being able to set your own curriculum and things like that, then they look at me like I'm crazy. And they're like, well, hope it works out for you. Little do they know,
right,
I already make more money in the private sector than I do there.
Well, look, joke's on them.
Yeah, you know, and I tell parents all the time, let your kid do what they want to do, because otherwise you're just going to be wasting years of their life. So they're going to go to school for 4 years to do something, or 8 years to do something that they don't want to do.
Right.
To finish
right.
what they want to do anyway.
Right. True. Understand.
Miserable the rest of their life.
I'm glad you said that, because I'm that parent that want them to do exactly what they want, because I see that the system we've been under, this social programming system we've been under, is not the one. It just isn't. A lot of people are miserable.
When I started off school, I was pre-med at Indian River State College. I was in there in classes at night with a lady who was a lawyer.
Oh, wow.
And this lady, well-established lawyer down there in St. Lucie County, and this lady's in her 50s. And I'm like, well, why are you pre-med? Right. Well, my parents wanted me to become a lawyer. So I went off to college, I went to law school and everything because they paid for it. Now I've been a lawyer for 15 years, and I'm not happy with doing it. I want to be a doctor. I've always wanted to be a doctor, so I'm going back now to take these courses so I can go to med school.
Wow.
So you forced your child to live 25 miserable years through law school and becoming a lawyer to hate it, to go back and do what they wanted to do anyway.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You look at Dr. Cho. You know the doctor from The Hangover?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's the real family practitioner. I don't know that.
Yeah, no, I know that because he had a comedy series out as well, and he was a doctor on there.
Yeah. And you've gone to med school, done all of this stuff, became a doctor after 10 years, and then you're like, you know what, I never wanted to do this in the first place. I'm going to go back and be a comedian.
Right.
Now, how do you think that his parents have to feel when, wow, we've stunted our child's growth for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
We've already been rich. You know, and I saw a comedian, I forgot who it was, but it was like the perfect comedy skit that I was watching. So I always tell people there's truth in every joke. And the guy was saying, he's like, you know, the bad thing about being from a Caribbean family is that your business is not a business until you make money. Your family's going to laugh at you and call it a hobby.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, and he's like, I've been a comedian and doing shows and all this stuff, but I was doing them trying to get my foot in the door and build up, and I wasn't really making any money. He goes, so my family was laughing at me, and then I got to this point, and boom, and now I'm making money, and now they're like, oh, that's not a hobby anymore. Can I have some money? He's like, well, where was the support before?
Right.
You know, and I called my mom, and I was like, yeah, you remember when I started breeding dogs? And you were like, oh, that's just a hobby. Yeah. And then the first year, I paid for my school clothes. And the next year, I'm buying myself a car.
Right.
And I'm doing all this other stuff.
Right.
And now, finally, you actually look at this like it's something that is real.
Right.
I've been doing this for 10 years. Like, and she's like, yeah, I really wish I would have just told you to keep doing it, but you're doing. Because before I went to college, like, I was doing so much better. Because I'm honestly glad I went to college, because if I didn't, I probably would have gone to jail or got killed or something.
Yeah.
However, like, the stuff that I was doing before, if someone just would have sat down and said, look, stop doing this and focus on this, I'd have been perfectly fine. Because the dog breeding was making thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
You know, the handyman work that I was doing. And I was getting good contracts. I was bidding on, you know, building greenhouses and irrigation systems. I was doing all types of stuff. Okay. You know, we were remodeling houses. We were making money.
Sweet.
So, you know, it was like, if I would have just focused on that stuff and not went to college, life would be so much greater. Like,
yeah.
But it's like, now I have to go back, rebuild the stuff that I had before.
Yeah.
Like, I'm paying off my college from, you know, with the same skills that I had before I went to college. And the skill that I got from college is practically worthless. The only thing that, because my degree's not even in teaching.
Okay.
Tell everybody that. Like, when I used to work at the elementary school, when teachers used to try to talk to me, they're like, what are you majoring in college? They're like, elementary education, you're psycho, no, next. Listen, ladies. If your degree says education on it, it's not a minor. Don't come talk to me.
Come talk to me now, sweets.
You know, it was so funny when I went to, when I started working in Fort Pierce, I was working with all the at-risk kids.
Okay.
And, like I said, I'm honest. And the kids, they'd be like, are you old enough to drink? Because they were trying to figure out how old I was.
Yeah.
And I'd always be like, on the north side of Fort Pierce. And they'd all bust out laughing. They don't care over there. You know, and the kids, they'd always be cracking up. And then some of them would go tell the other teachers, they was like, he said he's old enough to drink on the north side.
Your students like you overall?
Oh, yeah. I've never had a student that hated me by the end of the year. Because students can tell your intentions, and if they're positive or negative, whether or not they are hard to deal with.
Right.
You know, because there's those kids that you're going to cringe every time you see them. And they're going to cringe every time they see you. But you still love each other.
Yeah.
You know, you still love your students. You still want to see the best for them. And honestly, like, I've had a handful of kids that I've honestly at the beginning of the year, they hated me. Oh, with a passion, they hated me. But it's because I'm extremely strict with my kids in the classroom.
Yeah.
Because my thing is, like, you're not going to disrespect me. I'm not going to disrespect you. I'm going to talk to you like you're a person. You're going to talk to me like I'm a person. Other teachers, they do whatever they do over there. What we do in here is what we do. However, if you come to me with something from one of your other teachers' classrooms, no, I do not have any control over what goes on in their classroom, but I'm going to tell which one of you if you're right or wrong. And if both of you are wrong, I'm going to tell both of you you're wrong.
Yeah, we're going to be able to link up and chat more. This is pretty cool. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you were able to talk to me. I do appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right, love. Have a good night.
You too.
All right. Bye.